Hello everybody and welcome back to Cities Skylines, where I was just messing with this area here, and it took a little while, but I finally managed to get a much improved setup here. Now this is still not perfect. In order for this to happen, you can see the Magnolia Highway very slightly bends up and then back in here. However, I think in the overall scheme of things, it's going to be barely noticeable, and that does allow us to have these highways continue along straight. Now you'll notice I've backed these streets off for the time being, and I should actually back them off a little bit further, about like that, because we need to do on-off ramps here. So for the moment, we'll do just something along the lines of this. Let's just completely eliminate the roads over here. Okay, we'll build those back in a moment, and we still have this as markers for where our grid ends up going. So that's all good. We're going to have our one-lane, one-way highway, and this is going to need to be a kind of awkward on-ramp here, because, let's see here. Yeah, this is going to need to come up over here, right? Because the off-ramp, well, the off-ramp would go, like, right here, in theory. So it would just go something along the lines of that. Easy enough. The on-ramp over here would come up and around, kind of like this, in theory. So that would go like that, right? Then, as far as the off-ramp over here goes, we would need the on-ramp. I need to think about this for a moment. Yeah, so the on-ramp, we can't just simply do something like this, because if we did that, this works perfectly. What am I even thinking about? Right. We're going this way. Okay, let's take those out of there for now. Clearly, I'm thinking about this backwards, because now this ramp over here would end up simply coming in like that, right? So this is just a little bit backwards from how I would normally think about doing it. Now, this one still has to come in and around in a slightly awkward manner because we're going this direction, right? But then we need to bring it out over this way. That slope too steep. So we probably need to have it come out over here and maybe even do a complex curve.
Second moon radio, classical for the modern
and have that come around kind of like that.
Music, classical has
and then it'll go that way. And I mean, in theory, that way. But then from here, we can go back to just the standard curve tool. And this would easily enough just curve in over here, right? So this is kind of a crazy set of exits, but I don't think it's too terrible looking, all things considered, compared to what it used to look like anyway. What it looked like at the end of last episode.
On to the next episode.
Now, what about coming from here down to here? We may simply have to omit that. We may not have space. We could remove this out of here and maybe get something in like this. That slope too steep there. Uh-huh. It has to be back over this way, right? It absolutely has to be. So that's not, I think, going to work. We'll have to think about how we want to do that. But out this direction, we can certainly do an on-ramp like that, and then an off-ramp that would go in something kind of like this. And then out on this side, this traffic is going this way. Yep, that's all fine. When traffic is going this way, it would want to exit, as we previously determined. It'd want to exit out here, right? And in order to actually do that, we'd have to go all the way out over here. That's a little broken. That is definitely a little bit broken there. So I don't think that that's the best thing there. However, we can easily bring up a ramp over here. Oh, that's kind of horrific. We're going to need this to curve in a more complex way then. Kind of like that. It'll do. This situation here is going to be the awkward one, right? So we know that it worked eventually to bring this guy out and up here. But I think we had to bring it out this direction and then curve it and then bring it back over. I don't like that overall. So, how would I prefer to do this? We could simply have this guy come in down here and take up a bunch of space, right? And this is broken again here, but we could use the single curve tool and bring it in like that. That's still a little bit on the broken side. Okay, let's try this with just the single curve tool. And I want to have snapping to only angles right now. Okay, so something kind of like that. And we can bring this in over this way approximately. That's not fundamentally broken looking. Now, as far as going this way and wanting to go this way, what is there? Well, we could have an exit that comes out this direction and goes underground. So that would end up being something kind of like this, right? Oh, that's actually underground there. And then it could come out over here and merge onto like this on-ramp or something. I don't love that concept, though. I don't love that concept at all. So if you're going this direction and you want to go this direction, I think the best bet would actually be to have the off-ramp for that be out over here. And it goes up and over like this. Or maybe like... That's all giving slope too steep right now. But I'd like for it to just come over something kind of like this, right? Except we don't want to actually cross over like that. So, ideally... Hang on, I'm just thinking about this here. So, if you're going this direction and you want to get on this highway, that's what we're looking at. What is preventing us... And the answer is nothing. But what is preventing us from taking that out of there temporarily and bringing this guy over something kind of like this approximately? But there are pillars over here. And then bringing it up over this way, right? It's slope too steep, for sure. This is very awkward over here. This little area is tough to work in. There's no doubt about that. If we could simply do something like this, that would be amazing. But that's a 30% grade. So there's just not a lot of space here. What if we just don't have on-off ramps over here? And your plan, if... What is going on over here? This doesn't look quite right. That's because it's not quite right. Okay. No, this is actually not correctly connected here. Wild. I think that's because it's coming out this direction. It really needs to be coming out this way, right? So it comes out here and then curves over and goes up like that. Yeah, that's the correct directionality for that. So that's reasonably fine. We've got the 3 directions here. I have a potentially dumb idea. And here it is. So we take it from here, right? And we simply connect it out over this way. That's giving overlapping items due to pillars. We're going to run out of space here pretty soon. But we do it something kind of like this, right? So this is actually... And then we run like a 2-lane, 2-way highway. Like this. Obviously, that slope too steep. The other option is we could just have it come out of the roundabout. That's an interesting concept. It's unfortunately sloped too steep. But that's definitely an interesting concept, where it comes out of the roundabout here and just goes down, and you can either turn up or you can go down. And they're both combined together via the roundabout. So if we really wanted to do that, I think that the way that we would do it is we would just bring out a 2-lane, 2-way section at like a 45-degree angle, right? And it would just need to be quite short. Like that. Then we would bring the 1-lane, 1-way highway. It would start like back over here, right? And then it would come up over this way. Unfortunately, it is sloped too steep. And then out over this way, we would bring it down something kind of like this, which we might eventually be able to do. The other thing we could do is get rid of this section and just try to have this come out like this. Yeah, it's just sloped too steep all along here. Which is interesting, because this is the same height as this, right? And it doesn't really have that much of a grade to it. It's just that it's a very narrow space. So as a hypothetical, if we wanted to bring this out over here, right? That just yoinks it all around, but we could snap to it like existing geometry. Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea. There are a few options that I can think of for this sort of a scenario. And they're all kind of bad. So maybe we just don't have a way to do it. If you want to go from this highway to this highway, the way you do is by going onto here, taking the roundabout, and going like that. And we just omit this area. That might actually be the best way to handle it. If you're going this way, trying to go here, you take this exit, roundabout around. If you're here and you're trying to, or rather, if you're here and you're trying to go here, if you're on this highway, you go up to the roundabout, you take this exit. Yeah, I think that it's slightly more, well, roundabout, but I think that it is functional. You can pathfind through this in any direction. And it kind of looks dope as far as I'm concerned. We're going to have to get the roads through here, right? So the end, like, capping off roads here. I'm going to use the curve tool, and that's going to have to go around. And then this is going to be potentially difficult. I don't think we can get it directly under the roundabout. Yeah, so we've got pillars like all through here, right? We could maybe cut through here, I suppose, now that I look at where the pillars actually are. So that would end up being something kind of like this. And then it would want to curve out here. Maybe even slightly sharper than that, because we've got a pillar right here, right? And a number of pillars there, in fact. So it would need to go about here or so, and then up through here before snaking its way back down this direction. Kind of like that. And then basically straight lining its way out to the end here. Kind of like that. I don't love what we've got going on here. That can be smoothed out. And so we'll try to do that. So this would just be, you know, something kind of like that. We might be able to smooth this ever so slightly with the complex curve tool. So then that would come out over here, right? And then it would come around like so. Okay, let's just... Okay, that's kind of weird, the way that this works. Noted. So then it would be something... Ooh, hang on. I didn't intend for this to get built. I've not used this continuous tool before. That's certainly interesting. I don't like that. Okay, so I want this to go to about here, like that. That could work. That could work. Okay, so now this one here, right? And the question is, well, I don't like the angle that it's at there, so let's just bring it out and then bring it over to about here or so. Now, this guy's going to have to come out over here, right? And the question is, where can we actually go underneath here? I don't think we can really make our way through here. There's so many pillars. So many pillars right here. I think we might actually want to get rid of this section of highway. See if we can snake our way through here in any meaningful way. Hang on. I thought I saw one.
Who doesn't fear extending their
Maybe.
To the more challenging sphere
yes.
of the classical genre. Let us move
like that.
Now from the musical page to the
then we come around over here, like so.
Some perfectly
and do something kind of like this. We're going to have to go around here, of course, and then there's going to be some pillars here. So we're going to have to make our way through, like, right here, like that.
Modesty demands that I prevaricate against the title.
So something along the lines of this, and then making its way over here. This is not completely done with the curve yet.
Gentle arts. Though I do
and going about here.
But I digest. To continue.
Okay.
Professor Hornbuckle.
I want to not snap this and have it go about
I long to hear a tune
there.
That speaks to the anguish.
It's a little too close, isn't it? Yeah, it actually is a little too close. So from here, I want to bring this guy about. It needs to be a little further out. About here.
Poets, chaps, eh? Here's a tune just
so we would bring that over to about there. Actually, that's too far. I'm looking at this gap here. That is a little too far. So from here, let's turn snapping back on for the moment and bring this to be about here. Okay. This area can be cleaned up. No doubt about that. So using the double curve tool, I forget what they call it. What is this called? Complex curve tool. We would then bring this guy over, right? And we'd want to bring it out like so. And then in. I want one additional bend there. So we're going to have to use the regular curve tool. Complex curve tool does not give me the number of bends that we need, and so we're going to have to do this in 2 segments. About like that. That's a little smoother. Yeah, that'll work. Now the question is, can we get this highway back in over here? Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's great. Then we can bring this road out over this direction. Can we knock that back a little bit? Because I want to see about bringing in a curve here. Where was that? Right there? There's very little space here for curves. Okay. So let's go to straight line for the moment and bring that in here. That's the best we can do for the moment. Now we can go back to the curve tool and start bringing this on over to about here, which we can then bring in like so. And that's about the best we can do on that front. Actually, I kind of like that. That looks a lot better than it did. No doubt about it. That looks so much better. It's definitely not what I would consider perfect, but it does get the job done. What doesn't get the job done is this out over here. I'm certainly not okay with what we've got going on here. And I'm not okay with what we've got going on here either. This is reasonably fine. I don't mind that. And we can certainly bring this road out. Something a bit more like this. And then bring that out to here. Bring it in a wee bit closer. And even maybe not that close. So it would need to relatively follow this curve, right? And then do something kind of like, that's a little too close, I feel like. And I don't like this bend. Okay, so I think that I need to take this back again. And we're going to use the complex curve tool. And just bring this guy right on around. About like this. Okay. We can put this guy more like here. And now we're going to need to start getting a little bit of extra distance here. And then just come right on in like that. That is significantly better. This is still bad, though. I don't like this bend. So this section of the bend, I'm going to redo. And we're just going to bring it very gently in. More like that. That's better. Significantly better. Okay. Now that we've spent a ludicrous amount of time on that, we can move on for a bit. So we can now start to work on getting this brought on up, right? So we've got overlapping items here if we attempt to bring this in. Hang on. That's a spot that works. It's at 93 degrees. I want to snap only to the angle right now. Or actually, angle and existing geometry. Boy, it does not want to give us 90 degrees there. Yeah, that gives us overlapping items right here. So that was a little bit concerning. I definitely don't like that outcome. No doubt about that. The rest of this outcome, I think, is decent. So we can definitely bring this guy in here and here, right? So that seems okay. And this, we can just bring straight on over in theory, like that. And then we'll have to determine what our point out here is, but we can definitely do that. So I'm not too concerned about that one, but we can bring this down to be, that's basically its perfect length there. Okay. And then we can bring that down over here. That's 120, but that might be due in part to the 91 degrees. Okay. That might be in part due to the inclination of the terrain here. I'm not 100% certain on that one, but let's bring this guy down to here. I think this is just slightly too long on this side. So then we bring that over here. That's at 90 degrees. And we bring this in. Something like that. Okay. Now this should be 220 in theory. Yeah, there's overlapping items here. But we know that this road, in theory, should go here. In theory, approximately. I don't know that for a fact, though, so I'm going to remove that for the time being. We can remove this section of highway as we build this out, and we can take that over to that full 220. I guess 219 works. And then we can bring that up to here. That does cause some issues with this intersection. It's mildly awkward. To that end, I'm going to remove these sections of the road, and we can redo them. So this guy would come out now and would be something like... I want the complex curve tool, I think. Something about like that. There we go. And then this one would come out this direction and would be something kind of like that. So there, that somewhat cleans up that intersection. Emphasis on somewhat. So now we can extend this highway back out to be like here. There we go. That'll do. And we can start gridding up this area. Now, I'm not entirely certain how we're going to handle this bit of intersection here. We might just want to have it be slightly off. Actually, curve tool makes that potentially interesting. But straight line tool, yeah, that gives us overlapping items right up here. I wonder if we just removed this section. Then we build this in, straight line, like that. And then we just reconnect this. Right? That's giving overlapping items. This is not. Cool. That works. Can't even see it under the highway, so we'll take it. That seems absolutely fine. Next up, let's get this area done. So that'll be something like that, and then that'll just cut straight up. There we go. And then this will just attach straight over here. There we go. So there's that area. I guess we could call that a meta block done. It's not much of a meta block, to be honest, but that'll do. Next up, of course, we're going to bring this guy on over. 109 to 116. I'm going to go for 109, erring on the side of caution. Okay. And that's 114 there. So we bring that in about like that. There we go. Cool. And then that's 114, which is acceptable. Cool. Now for the potential dangerous part. What about this guy going straight up through the meta block? Actually, it's just fine. And that's basically the perfect length for the next meta block. Cool. So that seems fine. Well, we got a lot of work done over here, but there's a lot needing to be done in this general area. No doubt about that. It is about time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to continue working on this area. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Annie McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.